In the year 1919, G.H. Hardy came to visit Ramanujan, who was lying at Patni due to some illness. While talking to him, he mentioned that the taxi by which he came had a very dull number. He said, "I hope it was not an unfavorable omen." The number of the taxi was 1729. To this, Ramanujan said, "No, it is a very interesting number. This is the smallest number that we can represent in the cubic form in two different ways." Then Hardy asked him what more numbers can be like this. Ramanujan thought for a while and responded that he did not know, but probably the next number in the series would be a very big number. These numbers later came to be known as taxi cab numbers. This is something that Ramanujan just thought while sitting there. This one simple incident demonstrates the friendship this Indian genius had with numbers. We will probably never have someone like him in the field of mathematics, ever. Today, the name of Srinivas Ramanujan is very well known. He is praised and admired all over the world, but his journey was not an easy one. Born in a simple Brahmin family, he discovered much of mathematics on his own from textbooks that he found here and there. He had an immense love for the subject, but he received little exposure to it, though his talent was not unrecognized. His excellence in mathematics was rewarded to him in the form of a scholarship when he joined a university. But it was soon taken away because Ramanujan did not pay attention to any other subjects in the university except mathematics. After his scholarship was cancelled and he could not afford to stay at the university, he had to leave. In 1919, when he got married, then there was a need for money in his life. He now had a responsibility on his shoulders. Having done nothing except mathematics all his life, he did not qualify for most jobs. All he had were the notebooks where he had done his maths. From some chance, he got in contact with a few mathematicians. One of them was Ramachandra Rao. In his own words, Rao has described their meeting. He opened his notebook and began to explain some of his discoveries. I saw quite at once that there was something out of the way, but my knowledge did not permit me to judge whether he talked sense or nonsense. Suspending judgment, I asked him to come over again, and he did. And then he had gauged my ignorance and showed me some of his simpler results. I asked him what he wanted. He said he just wanted a pittance to live on so that he might pursue his researches. Ramanujan later found a job of a clerk where he could earn money and do maths in his spare time. However, soon with support of various people, he got work at Presidency College in Madras where he could do mathematics freely. Word soon reached Cambridge of this young genius. Once, in some notebook written by a British professor, Ramanujan found maths that was similar to his own. This book was written by G.H. Hardy, at that time a young lecturer at Trinity College. Ramanujan wrote a letter to Hardy on the advice of his professors, and in that letter he said to him that he was a humble clerk in India who is doing mathematics in his spare time, and he would like to show him the work that he has done. The mathematicians in Britain were blown away by the mathematics that was there in the letter. First they thought it was a joke from some senior professor, but on close examination they understood that this was some completely new math. They wondered how could an Indian clerk do this. From that point onwards, correspondence started between Hardy and Ramanujan. It did not take much time for Hardy to realize that Ramanujan is far behind in the field of mathematics as compared to where it was currently in the world. Since he did not have much exposure to where the field of mathematics had reached, he was solving results that mathematicians in other parts of the world had already solved hundreds of years ago. It became a concern of paramount importance to him to bring Ramanujan to London so that he can catch up with the world. But there was a problem. Ramanujan's mother was against him leaving the country. She did not want her son to leave their land and go to a foreign country. This problem was solved in a very interesting way. It is said that one night in a dream his mother saw Devi Namgiri, who told her to not stand in the way of his son and his life purpose, and to let him go and do what he was meant to do in his life. His mother finally allowed him, and Ramanujan was able to go to England. When he came to England, he faced many problems. It was a very cold country which he was not used to. Also, he was a pure vegetarian, so there was a problem with food. But mathematicians loved him, and he also loved doing maths with them. Soon, however, most professors left the university because war had started and there was only G.H. Hardy left there. Hardy and Ramanujan did a lot of mathematics together. Some of his best work was done in company of Hardy. Ramanujan wrote mathematical papers, some papers in collaboration with Hardy and some on his own. G.H. Hardy is a very big mathematician who contributed a lot to the field of mathematics. However, when he was asked what was his greatest contribution to the field of mathematics, G.H. Hardy would say, "I discovered Ramanujan, and that is my greatest contribution." Hardy and Ramanujan had become good friends. After spending some time in England, Ramanujan started to face health problems. His condition worsened and he had to leave for India, but it did not help him and his health kept getting worse and worse. And finally, in the year 1920, Ramanujan passed away. At a very young age, this world lost a very genius, beautiful and lovable person. He left so much behind. Many problems that he was working on remained unsolved for almost a century. In his life, Ramanujan faced a lot of problems, but he also received a lot of support and love from the people around him. Some people think that if Ramanujan had never left India, then he would not have faced so many problems and he could have lived a long life. To this, I'd like to repeat Professor E.H. Neville's word about Ramanujan's departure. Had Ramanujan not left India, he might be alive today, but he would have had always the sense of power and frustration, not of power and accomplishment. Death, too, was a frustration, but the life's purpose of which his mother dreamed was at least in part fulfilled, and it is better to be frustrated by unsought death than by life. So Srinivas Ramanujan believed, for he told me just before he left England that he had never doubted that he did well to come.